Hey guys, what's going on? Kalamazi here, and with BFA's actual launch being so close and pre-patch already being on live servers, I wanted to talk a bit about Mythic Plus changes at 120 and how all three Warlock specs are playing currently. Now there were a few changes made to Mythic Plus for BFA, but the change that has received the most feedback, whether it be positive or negative, is the fact that you're no longer able to swap gear in Mythic Plus. With the loss of legendaries heading into BFA, swapping gear was not necessarily going to be as prominent as it was before, but this change does hold a good bit of merit for us, just like it does for tanks and healers as well. Even with the loss of legendaries, we're gaining another system with similar traits to legendaries, and that is the Azerite armor system. There are many different Azerite armor pieces that each spec has to choose from, some of which buff our AoE abilities like Rain of Fire, or provide a similar generic buff to our intellect or secondary stat. There are also some pieces that provide an increase to certain abilities we would use mainly on boss encounters or other things, so being locked into a set of gear and Azerite talents is going to really shake things up and reward players who know the specific dungeon route or pulls that are going to be made well. There's always the other option of dropping a summoning stone, hearthing out, and changing your talents to Azerite armor outside of the dungeon, but the loss of time your group would incur is probably not worth it. A fourth affix was also added to level 10 or higher keystones, which is not going to be a changing seasonal affix based on the upcoming storyline. The first affix for BFA launch is called Infested, and it plays into the whole Old Year Corruption Gahoon storyline very well. I do like this change and think it will go a long way in mixing up Mythic Plus when they start to become a bit stale near the end of a season or tier. I also hope this leads to seasonal Mythic Plus rewards, similar to the way PvP seasons function currently. The first spec that I want to talk about is Affliction. Now, Affliction was in a pretty underpowered state for all of Alpha and a good bit of Beta, but with the recent class tuning and the destruction nerfs, it's become a much more viable choice. Affliction offers strong, sustained AoE on trash, however it does take a bit of time to ramp up damage-wise with Agony, which means that Affliction at times will not reach its full AoE potential on lower or non-fortified keys before the trash actually dies, depending on which build you're running. There are two builds that I feel Affliction can run in Mythic Plus, and I think a good bit of it depends on the affixes as well as which dungeon the group is currently running. The first build talent-wise consists of Drain Soul, Absolute Corruption, Sow the Seeds, Grimoire of Sacrifice, and Creeping Death. This is a build that I have run in certain dungeons like Shrine of Storms or the Mother Lode, where there's a lot of trash present and many of the pulls consist of 5 or more targets. Drain Soul is great for shard sniping like it always has been in Mythic Plus, and allows us to head into each pull with 3 or more shards at the ready. Absolute Corruption is one of the two talents that stays the same in both builds due to its power level, with our lower levels of haste and also the fact that Creeping Death is the de facto talent choice in the level 100 row. Maintaining both Agony and Corruption on multiple targets becomes much harder than it is currently in Legion. Absolute Corruption provides a 15% damage boost as well as permanent corruption on each mob, which frees up a great deal of time with just having to refresh Agony versus having to refresh both Agony and Corruption, allowing us to cast more unstable afflictions or see the Corruption depending on what pull we're doing. Sow the Seeds is a talent that I feel is useful in only a handful of dungeons when compared to Phantom Singularity or Vile Taint, and sort of falls into the same category of the Sow the Seeds versus Dark Soul debate in Legion. There are certain dungeons where, even with there being trash pulls consisting of 3 or 4 mobs, will benefit more from Phantom Singularity than Sow the Seeds. In dungeons like the Mother Lode or Shrine of Storms, however, most pulls consist of 5 or more mobs, which in that case, Sow the Seeds becomes the best talent choice in my opinion. With Absolute Corruption granting a 15% damage increase to Corruption as well, they both deal a great bit of damage over the course of the run. I have also preferred Grimoire of Sacrifice when running this mass AoE build, as it deals a good bit of damage as well as providing you with your own interrupting spell lock, rather than having it tied to your pet, which typically always finds some way to die. The other build is a much more single target based Affliction build that will provide a great deal of priority add damage and bring a good bit of single target damage to tyrannical keys as well. The build consists of Death Bolt, Absolute Corruption, Phantom Singularity, Haunt, and Creeping Death. While we no longer have Drain Soul for shard sniping, this build provides a great deal of synergy with our new Dark Lair cooldown, and in certain dungeons where there are priority adds or mini bosses that need to die quickly, like Waycrest Manor, it really excels here over the previous build. Having Absolute Corruption as a talent also provides us with a good bit of competitive AoE damage if we're given the time we need to ramp up with Corruption and Agony, which we can then turn into a great bit of single target burst with our Dark Lair on a priority target. Now, as mentioned, this is more of a single target focused trash build once you're actually able to apply your permanent corruptions to all your targets, but being able to focus our Dark Lair's increased damage into one mob really makes this build exceptional in my opinion, and it brings an element to Mythic Plus that not a lot of classes actually can. On actual boss pulls, we're in mostly our single target build outside of Siphon Life, which actually makes for exceptional single target damage in higher tyrannical settings as well. I feel that this will pretty much be the best build for Affliction heading into Mythic Plus and BFA, barring any changes, as it just brings so much to the group single target wise, as well as having a good bit of AoE potential in higher settings with Absolute Corruption. Destruction is the other spec that I feel is positioned well for Mythic Plus currently in BFA. I will say that it's not as customizable as Affliction is, but it does offer certain things to the group that Affliction cannot. The talent build that I feel would be the best suited for Mythic Plus consists of Flashover, Reverse Entropy, Cataclysm, Grimoire of Sacrifice, and Channel Demon Fire. As mentioned in the Affliction build, Grimoire of Sacrifice provides us with a good bit of damage, unlike previous expansions, but it also grants us an interrupt and spell lock, which is huge for Mythic Plus, even with Sephiroth no longer being a thing at 120. Not having it tied to our pet, which typically finds some way to die, brings even more versatility to the group, which is always a plus. The sequence of Cataclysm into Channel Demon Fire and then entering right into a Havoc window on packs of 2 to 4 targets provides an insane amount of initial burst, and then a great deal of 2-target cleave as well. Due to the fact that Cataclysm applies Immolate to each mob it hits, you're typically able to cast Conflagrate right after your Channel Demon Fire finishes, and then cast 2 Havoc Chaos Bolts, another Conflagrate, and then a 3rd Chaos Bolt before your Havoc window falls from your second target, making Destruction's opening sequence exceptionally powerful. The main difference damage-wise on Trash between Affliction and Destruction is that Destruction deals a good bit of its damage up front in our Cataclysm into Channel Demon Fire and then Havoc window. Affliction takes a bit more time to ramp up with having to cast Seed of Corruption and then Agony to all your targets, which in my opinion makes Destruction the better choice for lower keys where Trash will die quickly before Affliction really has the time for Agony to ramp up. Destruction also has a very powerful cooldown in Summon Infernal, which provides a great bit of AoE damage on Trash pulls, as well as a stun with its initial landing. One of the great changes to Summon Infernal is that while it's active, it grants you a Soul Shard fragment every half second, which can really fuel some impressive damage via Havoc or Rain of Fire if there are more than 4 targets present. It also makes for some very strong initial burst, especially with Heroism or Bloodlust, on boss pulls, as you're generating a crazy amount of shards on pull and over the duration of the cooldown, which is 30 seconds. I really like the fact that Blizzard decided to split up the greater demons that each spec has in BFA, giving Affliction Dark Lair, Destruction the Infernal, and Demonology the new Demonic Tyrant cooldown. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the guide, I do feel that all 3 Warlock specs are viable in Mythic Plus, but I also feel that Affliction and Destruction just bring more to the table damage-wise as well as toolkit-wise than Demonology does currently. With that being said, I do feel that Demonology has a bit going for it when compared to Destruction and Affliction, but is currently lacking in certain areas that make it the least attractive spec out of the 3. The build of Demonic Strength, Demonic Calling, Soul Strike, Inner Demons, and Sacrifice Souls has proven to be the best for me in testing, and I feel it would be best positioned when BFA actually launches for Mythic Plus. Demonic Strength provides a great bit of burst damage via our Felguard and Trash pulls, as well as a good bit of single target power, making it the obvious choice for Mythic Plus. Demonic Calling provides a good bit of utility for times of movement, but also is a solid choice and the best choice in the level 30 row. Soul Strike is another great spell that can be used on the move and provides your Felguard with a good bit of versatility and mobility while you're avoiding mechanics or on the move in general. The fact that it also generates a Soul Shard can help a bit with both shard generation on the move if you do not have a Molten Core procs banked, or just Soul Shard generation overall. From the Shadows is also a solid choice, however, that you can make in this row if you're looking for a bit more single target damage, and it can be useful with the Power Siphon talent or saving a few charges of Molten Core for the From the Shadows windows, but I feel that Soul Strike is the best overall talent choice here. With the recent changes to Grimoire Felguard, increasing its cooldown to 2 minutes from minute 30 and cutting its damage in half, Inner Demons has once again become the go-to choice in said row. Being able to transition from one pack to another with a few active pets, as well as having the potential to passively summon a few powerful demons, makes the talent a better choice in Soul Conduit. Demonology struggles a bit at times transitioning from one pack to another without proper shard and pet management, which Inner Demons helps to alleviate a bit. The final row of Sacrifice Souls, Demonic Consumption, and Nether Portal is one of the biggest areas I think Demonology currently struggles with in Mythic Plus at the moment. All 3 talents are basically either single target talents in Nether Portal and Sacrifice Souls, or cost you a great deal of resources, meaning you're summoning imps and pets, in Demonic Commander. This is one of the main differences and glaring holes in Demonology currently, is with both Affliction and Destruction, their burst and initial AoE ramp-up damage also generate resources with Agony or Immolate, but with Demonology you're actually losing resources with Implosion or Demonic Commander. Both Creeping Death for Affliction and Channel Demon Fire Destruction also offer a good bit of AoE contribution in the final talent row, while Demonology's final talents really have no AoE implications at all. As mentioned, you are able to burst past what Destruction and Affliction can do damage-wise on certain trash packs, but sustaining a competitive amount of damage then becomes the main issue once your imps have been imploded and your Demonic Strength City is actually over. Taking those issues into account with the fact that it's currently the spec that suffers the most from movement out of the 3, we can easily see why both Destruction and Affliction are a bit more appealing than Demonology currently from Mythic Plus and Battle for Azeroth. In the past, Demonology was known for being a very strong single target spec that suffered a great bit from movement, and also struggled a bit with target swapping and AoE. While it was strong in all these areas in early alpha and beta, it now does not really excel in any area more than Affliction or Destruction does outside of initial burst windows. I really enjoy the current feel of Demonology rotationally, as well as most of the talent choices, excluding the final row in a sense, but my final thoughts on the spec are that if you're looking to run and push high keys level 10 or higher, Demonology is not currently where you want to be. If you're going to be running mid-tier keys and aren't interested in min-maxing, the Demonology is a viable choice and a great choice, but you do need to be aware of the fact that even in a lower key setting, Affliction and Destruction will still bring more to the group overall than Demonology will. With that being said, however, there's still plenty of time until BFA actually launches, and then when Mythic Plus actually opens, which means there's also plenty of time for it to receive a buff and more tuning. There's always tuning after an expansion actually launches, and then more heading into the first week or two of Heroic and Mythic. Another thing to keep in mind is that Mythic Plus also will not be available until after a few weeks from launch, and Demonology is perfectly fine for base Mythic dungeons and other things of the sort. With Demonology being one of their spotlight specs in a sense heading into Battle for Azeroth, I think it's a very safe bet to say that Demonology will receive a good bit of buffs in the early tuning passes of Battle for Azeroth. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope this gave you a bit of a better understanding as to how each Warlock spec will be functioning in Battle for Azeroth Mythic Plus. I do want to mention that there's still the possibility of more tuning after today's raid testing and before BFA actually launches, so be sure to keep an eye out for that and don't become too discouraged over the current state of Demonology. If you guys are interested in the weak ore I'm using, I'll have a link to it in the description below. And if you guys want to see more WoW and BFA content, remember to smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons as your support really helps. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see y'all really soon in Battle for Azeroth. Peace.